Good evening. My name is Joe Sam Robinson. It's my pleasure to have with us tonight Mr. Harry Gross. Harry is a young man of great, abilities that's finding his way through a dark and shaky world, looking for light, as am I. So on that note, well, okay, Harry, we've talked about a lot of things. One of the things that strikes me is as the change that's taken place in world dynamics that I've observed since I was born right on the end of World War II. So I don't know what you'd call me, but I'm a wartime baby or something. But all right, I was born there, and I've observed the post-war world and the stability that happened after World War II, with America had gone through lots of terrible events. They'd gone through the Depression, war, the Dust Bowl. All kinds of people were searching for some kind of normalcy and happiness, and it was quite difficult. The country was in a lot of debt after World War II, and then it faced the Soviet Union, and it faced wicked communism. No smile on that, but wicked. And so the idea is these malevolent forces are out there, and the U.S. has to stand up against them the same way they stood up against Adolf Hitler and Japan. They stood up. And then when they tried to put together a new world order, if you want to say that, which the U.S. was the linchpin of it. The U.S. was it as far as the world order. The world was divided maybe into different groups. So we had the Western world, who got their insight from, I would say, Christianity, and also from Greek philosophers, the whole journey of the West toward truth, how you find truth, the ways that we're going to come in the room, and we're going to use our intellect to find a path through the world. And we're going to make a huge effort not to injure people, and we're also going to be responsive to where we think we're in error in some places. So that's what they're going to try and do. And their path is described by the forces on the left in many ways, meaning the Soviet Union, or you could say Mao Zedong in China. And so the story was when people seize power, they kill each other. I mean, they kill the lower people, and it's really a very demonesque kind of situation we're fighting about. There's the devil right there, okay? And we put together this enormous alliance all over the world, and the alliance was made for not so much for the individual, democratic rights of the citizens of different countries, but they wanted to include these countries in the great alliance they'd put together against the forces on the left. I'd say that. Well, in any event, that's the system was there, and all kinds of it may have its defects, but actually it served very well, and so the system rolled along, and it had its ups and downs, and then the Berlin Wall fell, and it was in the 1980s, I
89.
think. 89, right? And then it looked like the West had totally triumphed. And I was afoot in those days in different places. And it was enormous. It was tremendous to be an American citizen. Just America had done it. We'd done it. Our ideas, our moral strength, whatever. We were the guiding post for happiness. Our ideas were validated just by our power and openness. Well, and so that sort of rolled along with no real competitors. There was a decade or two through which I lived through a little bit, you could say, in visiting Russia and China and different places. That the U.S., we were the role model. I would just stay as we are, and we would imagine that we're going to have this paradiso on the planet. We're going to have all the 8 billion people hooked up we'd make an effort to have food, security, clean water, kindness, whatever we want to do. We're going to try and do all that. And it appears that that system is breaking down substantially right now. And I think a question would be, is that a good thing or a bad thing that system has broken down, and why did it break down? And so I think acutely there's one or two issues there. Number one might be the tariffs. So the tariffs and the idea is this is your avuncular big brother, the U.S. It's your kindly friend that's there to help you, and the idea is with open borders, pretty much in regards to movement of goods. It made things much cheaper here, and it gave other countries a chance to start on low-end manufacturing, and the higher-end manufacturing was supposedly, or thinking, if you want to put it that way, would be in the U.S., and that was the system. And so there's a lot of events taking place that were positive. I'm almost finished my little diatribe. The issue, however, was there was a substantial number of citizens that thought this policy was against their personal best interest. We say in Macon, Georgia, if you worked, the cotton mills are gone here, and thousands of people depended on it, their livelihood, and the transition that happened. We say it's not a very good job, but it was a job, and people were making it work, and those jobs left. The Brown and Williamson, big factory left. Factories can't exist here, and particularly, I would say, males in this system. What they did earlier was not as, their jobs are not as obvious. They're not lifting big, buckets of something or doing something quite physical. So there's a lot of dissatisfaction in the world order because there were some losers. There were some aggrieved people in the U.S. And politically, they supported President Trump, who was attempting to look after their interests. I think that's fair to say. And we've gone through this tariff arrangement. We've also gone through the deal in Iran. And we've also, many harsh words have been offered, which a big brother wouldn't routinely use. And one would be, we're out of NATO, or you people don't have any guts, or whatever, different comments. Well, some of which you could say, well, maybe there's a patina of truth in some of this. Well, maybe, let's see, Italy didn't want to spend 5% of their gross national product on defense, whatever. I mean, there are issues that are like that. But now we're in this new situation where presumably something else is going to take place. Now, do you think we have the No Kings march here, and there are no kings in the U.S. There might be powerful politicians, but they're not kings, as witnessed by the facts that thousands and millions of people can have a No Kings march, and there are no kings here. No one was mowed down, and the election is going to take place. So we're going to have a lot of changes are going to take place soon. Can the toothpaste be put back in for the world order? What do you think about that?
I don't know if it can be put back together the way it was. Humpty Dumpty's fallen off the wall here. Now, there's a question of whether we can take what's left and build something better. There are reforms that need to be made to the international institutions that were created after World War II. The UN Security Council needs significant reform in order to actually achieve its objectives. The WTO needs reform. The IMF needs reform. And there needs to be much more emphasis paid to the flow of global capital, because there have been a lot of losers created through this system. Now, the world order that was created in the aftermath of World War II did a lot of really good things. It made people wealthier. It made the planet more peaceful. It prevented war and conflict, and it made us better in every way. Problem is, people get bored with stability. Stability is boring, one. And people want a challenge. They want something to change, and they'll look for reasons to overthrow the order just because they are dissatisfied with it. Then there are many legitimate grievances that require to be addressed. But the way that not just the United States, but the way that movements across the world have systematically chipped away at the legitimacy of the international order is damaging in a way that I don't think we can fully come back from. Now, that said, I think we can craft new institutions to address some of those concerns, and I think we can come back to a new, I would have said Pax Americana. I don't know if that's the right operative term anymore. Pax Mundial, I guess. Right, I don't know. Yeah, right. Some kind of verbiage there, but that there are tools that can be used, but it's going to require a lot of overhaul, not just globally but domestically. The problem with globalization, the real problem with globalization, is that what happens over here no longer stays over here. What happens over here matters over there, and what happens over there matters over here. And it's going to require a new sense of identity, of what does it mean to live in this world? What does it mean to be a citizen of a given country? What does sovereignty mean in this century? At what point do other countries, other ideas have the ability to inject themselves into our lives? And I don't think we're prepared to reckon with that quite yet. What we do know is that people, I think, are realizing they benefited more from the old order than they thought they did. I don't know if they've put that to words yet, but I think people are realizing that this isn't what they voted for to some degree, that even people who were incredibly dissatisfied with the old order and did not mind if the boat got rocked because the boat wasn't doing them any good, are realizing that having a boat's better than not having a boat at all. Yes. But it's going to take a long time for things to change. And that's assuming we don't have any more dramatic changes. Because the problem with overturning global systems, this is not the first time that world orders have collapsed across the board, is that you get a synergistic effect where things start spiraling out of control faster and faster, and the order starts disintegrating faster and faster. That is, it takes too long to shore up the gaps. And in that chaos, more and more things go wrong, and more and more people lose faith in the system, and that gives bad actors more incentives to act badly, because they realize they can get away with it, they can do it.
Well, there's a lot of complexities issues you've raised, and one key word was boredom, and so the comment I would make is the way the brain is structured. Back to the brain again, is they seek out demons. So everyone seeks out demons. To be content. And if there are no demons out there, it's not a happy state of existence. So people are actually require demons. If they, I don't know, everything is great, they made $1 million on the stock market or whatever, everything is great, there's plenty to eat, and then they start to worry about, you name it, crabgrass or the University of Georgia football team or whatever, or they're losing hearing in their left ear. There's something that they want to grapple with. And so that's a very centrifugal force. Another thing is change. So you mentioned the UN or whatever. And so one of the issues in putting together an arrangement to, in some ways, govern the world, or at least avoid cataclysmic terminal mistakes in policy, which could expunge our species, which that's something to worry about. And particularly when war happens. I quote the Bible, war and rumors of war. So that's where we are. We have these wars, they just keep popping up. Referable, I think, to brain anatomy and brain neurochemistry. That's what I think. It's inevitable. So what are you going to do to put a system in there to make things work? Well, firstly, to recognize it. So that would be a big thing. The next thing is understanding that the way humans are is they want an in-group and an out-group. They want that. They want to say, I'm in a group that's better than anyone else, or that's a bad group over there, and I'm going to try and structure it somehow where I get the joy of saying, I'm in a good group and you're in a bad group, and I may have to fight with you, which would be somewhat psychologically pleasant. Not a good idea, but let's fight because that's the way my brain is structured. And so we see that in world affairs with our 8 billion people. We have all these things going on. And how do we put the world order together? One of the issues is to consider China, and as far as that goes, India, which let's see, that amounts to, well, not quite half the world's population, but pretty close. So just those two countries, and the people. They're not Caucasians, they're not in Europe, and they're not in North. There's a small percentage of the world's population there, and also a relatively small percentage of, I guess, cognitive abilities. So all these other people out there are very bright. They've got their own ideas and whatever. And so letting that group come forward might be a big thing. And so it's kind of something that's bad would be to say, well, let's include China more in what's up here. So they've got all these resources. If we put the world order together, should we be partners with China more than we've been? And how the Chinese have, just like anybody, done all kinds of bad things in the past. However, I think they have some sense of stability or liking stability. Their country's been through terrible upheavals in the past millennium. And they sort of think that they can just look after the 900 million pig farmers that the government's got a lot of tasks. They have 900 million pig farmers there. Right? Maybe they could be good people to deal with, possibly. And the same for Europeans, different people. And how do you get collective goodwill on the planet? That's a big problem. And I'll also make this comment where I'm sort of going from pillar to post on this. But another thing is finding outriders. So you need to find somebody psychologically that's bad, a demon somewhere. So we find a demon and let's fight with the demon, and that's quite psychologically pleasant. And many times there really are demons. There really are bad people that need to be restrained. So those are some of the issues that I'm not sure policymakers get into enough. And the other point that's out there is the predisposition of humans to act in certain ways can be manipulated by politicians. They can do that. And if we're trying to heal the wounds of our planet, and there are many demagogues out there that know how to manipulate people. Those are some problems. Now, I went around the bases a little bit. Do you have any comments about any of that?
Well, we are grappling with the fact that we're moving from a unipolar world in the sense of after the end of the Cold War, the United States was the sole kind of left major superpower, to now a more multipolar world where we do have to think, okay, what are the Chinese going to want out of this? What are the Indians want out of this? How much does Europe as a whole get involved? We're not even speaking about Britain or France or Germany individually. It's now Europe, right? Where do the Russians feel on this? How do we deal with the global South, right? And at what point do we bring in the third world to some degree to these conversations? That's a new challenge. I've been in my free time just looking for something to have on the background while I'm working whatever. I've been watching Stargate SG-1. It's an old sci-fi series. It's
you watch television?
Every now and then.
It's always a mistake. Okay.
But it started airing in the 90s, the late 90s, like 97. Yes. I'm in season 3 now. It's about 2000. So we're still pre-11. Right. And the thing that strikes me the most is that there is no question that the United States is the one that possesses this sci-fi technology to visit alien worlds. There's no British representative. There's no Chinese representative.
Yes.
The United States gets to speak for humanity And I think it's reflective of the way that the world, I think, viewed American hegemony, the way that the world order kind of works for a while at the end of the Cold War. That it was the United States at the top. That's not a world that we live in anymore. I mean, the first thought I had when I watched this is they didn't even have a British guy, like a Canadian didn't show up in here. No, yes. You know, now we can't imagine a world where we don't have some kind of multilateral arrangement. I mean, at least in terms of communication lines. There's a whole subplot in the show where the Russians get their own version of this, and it turns into a thinly veiled commentary on Chernobyl.
Harry, let me caution you about taking that step on television. Be cautious about that.
My point being is that was a subplot where it's like the Russians can't be trusted with this. Right. That we can't get. It seems literally alien in many ways to me compared to the reality we live in now. That the world order was put together in a very specific context. And that context has changed. And we now face a catch-22. We are devolving into increased tribalism, the resurgence of nationalism and militant nationalism around the world that seeks to dismantle this world order in favor of the nation state, because of the failures of the world order to meet certain needs. But we can't reform the world order to meet those needs without tamping down these destabilizing influences that delegitimize the system. It's a rock and a hard place of where you go.
There's some ideas about that. Firstly, I think this is in many ways inevitable. That's what I'm saying, and it's just inevitable. The nation states or groupings are inevitable, and one group is going to dislike the other one. It takes great effort to not dislike other people. Yeah. And the deal with the war sometimes teaches nations lessons, and this is not something I talk about other than casual speculation, but suppose you had some kind of thing that frightened the earth, some casual nuclear exchange. There's not such a thing, horrific. It may be something just that shocked people. We can't keep doing this, kind of like World War II did that. So we have to put some connection together with other people and not dislike them, even though we may wish to. It would be very attractive to do that. Also, the deal, I think, with how do you heal things, it may require experts. So you talked about some of the problems that are out there. Well, let's have a person that really understands irrigation in Uganda, whatever, something like that. There are the people that can do that, but actually, experts cause some problems. And so particularly if you have a, quote, democratic system. So democracy has got its, the Winston Churchill, the best system we know of, all these other bad systems. Mm-hmm. But the issue, sometimes the democratic process can be manipulated, and people can say that's a bad person, or that's people that know how to manipulate people using the media to do it are quite good at it, aka Goebbels Jr. I mean, the way that the Nazis did it. They can certainly manipulate people. And they can turn them against experts or people that are trying to do something, and that you can see that happening. And then finally, one of the issues that I think often occurs is with high technology. So if your movie or your TV show went out, whatever it was, occurred in 2000. Say 25 years ago, what's happened since then, all this technology, everything is rushing forward and it's widely disseminated. Mm-hmm. So an interesting thing is, can we keep the computer chips here? NVIDIA, we're going to not let the Chinese have any, or we're going to try and hold our technology in. It turns out to be almost impossible. So the technology is being disseminated everywhere. And the real deal is access to that technology. So if you have some kind of relatively, just some intelligence, and you've got some educational arrangements, and you can plug those people into this technology, you can really produce a huge amount of power. as witnessed by, say, the war in Iran and the Middle East. So look how dominant the U.S. is. Well, that's the technology we have, but it's freely spongible. It can go everywhere, and so there wouldn't be any difference or very little difference if things just sit tight for 5 years or 3 years. And so we would face a situation where any nation state with aggrievement against another nation state might be able to do something pretty rough. And do we have the organization to protect the world from that? I mean, that would be a problem that politicians have. And I'll make this statement. You know, one of my pictures, or one of my friends, was a physician, and he was in Médecins Sans Frontières in Rwanda. He was there when everybody was killing everybody, and so there's some pictures that he sent me that I framed, and they're at my guest house, of people about to be murdered, about to be killed, about to be massacred, and the question is, what happened? It was a political failure. The politicians failed in that Central African Republic to prevent this. And so that's, I think, is the sine qua non of an effective political leader, is avoiding war. Avoid war. I don't think it's calling the Department of Defense the Department of War. Well, there's a certain, I can sense that sounds like I can take that. I mean, that sounds good to me. When I was an 18-year-old boy, that sounds good.
Yeah.
It sounds good, man. It's like if you play football, you don't want any like sissified.
Sounds great if you're an adolescent.
I want a tough. That's our country, man. We're not playing around. It's not a girly kind of thing. It's a real hard driving whatever country we have, and that has substantial problems, I think, about that persona for the country. And now I'm going through. We've sort of talked on general issues. There may be some wisdom we're missing, some kind of Pacific story that out there. I think we've lambasted in many ways the war in Iran. I mean, at least I've made an effort to, subtly, but I think that's
I've done it quite openly.
I think I'm against
There's been nothing subtle about my views.
Maybe there, we imagine we know everything, and we don't. We just, our access to information we're way down the information channel here, way down. And then people in positions of power have tremendous information, and they also have resources to parse all these facts out. So you could imagine, if you had confidence in the government, that you could depend on what they said, then, I just don't know what the deal is, and I trust these people. And the issue would be trust. Can we trust what's going on? Have we lost trust in our central government? And one thing I think is still remains with me is going into the Iraq War. And actually, I really trusted the Bushes, if that means anything. I mean, I did. I still, you could say, do. I would consider them moral gentlemen, Christian gentlemen, fine Christian gentlemen. At least they may not have been, but I imagine they were. So you can certainly trust that gentleman's word here about what's up here. And no, you could not. The misinformation, the absence of what's going on, the manipulations in the halls of power, and that's in the best circumstances where you really said, well, the person's persona seems like a very trustworthy person. I mean, maybe I would do a real estate deal with a person or something, I don't know, or buy a car from him, buy a used car. It seemed pretty trustworthy. And actually, the policy that he touted turned out to be quite incorrect, and that's in the best circumstances. So the policies that are being touted now might actually, maybe there's something there that we're missing. Maybe there are facts that have been hidden. Something else is going on, some complexities with the Chinese, something happens. I mean, we just don't know. And I mean, I still think that that's something that off-ramp is there to say this is really what happened. Well, all right, Harry, do you have any comments here?
I think I'll finish with this. there is a reason that systems matter. You mentioned Rwanda earlier. That wasn't just a political failure. That system was set up to fail a century before it went to hell in a handbasket. When you create systems that incentivize people to distrust their neighbor, to look for enemies, to exercise their most damaging impulses, and they're rewarded, or at least they're not punished for doing so, that's the results that you get. But when you set up systems that incentivize cooperation, that incentivize finding shared humanity, that incentivize mutual benefit, it's a rough road, but you get there more often than not. And when we see the modern international system, institutions, this goes for filters all the way down to political, domestic, local systems. When you see those incentives begin to be chipped away at, to be inverted, that's a real warning sign. And it's one of those things where we have to get back to find a way to incentivize the better angels of our nature rather than the darker ones.
Well, thank you for those comments. And I'll end by saying, is capitalism such a system?
In many ways it can be. In many ways it can be.
Okay, it can
be. There we go.
That's good.
I'll surprise you for the day.
That's good. Okay. Well, thanks for your insights tonight, Harry.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot. Right.